right. Welcome to this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how we doing, man?
Again, on a life standpoint, good. On a Bucks standpoint, bad. I feel like it's going to be the same thing until Bucks both are good.
Yeah. And the frustrating part about that is they played Cleveland twice last week, and they had a very good chance to win both games, and unfortunately just couldn't pull it out. Especially the one at home, which was demoralizing. Damian Lillard hits a shot late. And Donovan Mitchell hits a game winner. To kind of seal that and again, I'm not taking anything away from Donovan Mitchell. I'm not taking anything away from Gary Trent. Because honestly, on that particular game winner, there's honestly nothing more Gary Trent could have done. That's just a good player making a good shot. If you remember, Mitchell bobbled the ball. Gary Trent was right on top of him, still makes an impossible shot. So not much you could have done there.
It was just demoralizing.
It was a demoralizing loss because Milwaukee obviously hasn't had like a good start to the season. And you were thinking, number one, we're going to give Cleveland its first loss of the season. And number two, maybe this starts like a bit of a winning streak. Neither happened. And, that part was unfortunate. So I guess like from that game last Saturday, what did you see in Milwaukee's performance against Cleveland?
I mean, this was the game where they came out hot as can be. Lillard hits 3 threes almost immediately. They start out, they get a 16-point lead in the first quarter. And that sucks is because having a 6-point lead in the first quarter means it's going to be eliminated 9 out of 10 times. 16-point lead usually like 10, 15 years ago meant like you were going to get smoked. Now that's like a 3-minute run for a team where they're fully capable of eliminating that in the same quarter. But I had so much hope because of how strong they came out, especially hitting 3-pointers, which has been one of their biggest struggles this year. You have Lillard going 10 for 15 from threes. Taurean Prince had 4 3-pointers as well, and it was like things were going so well and then so bad, I guess, in the span of 2 quarters where you're up 16 and all of a sudden it's tied. Now you're down 10. Now you bring it back, and I think what's so hard about this game and then the next game is losing by 2 points and 1 point is just you look at the one thing. Damian Lillard usually misses 1 free throw game, and he missed 3, and that's just not him. I feel like when it comes to free throw shooting, again, you can't blame it on free throws, but it's so hard knowing that had he made 2 more free throws, they would have won. Had Gary Trent not shot 1 for 10, they could have won. There's just so many small things, but yeah, it just sucks when it's a game winner when you had such a lead and everyone I felt like was playing so well. Taurean Prince had a bounce back game. Obviously, Giannis did Giannis things. 16, almost a triple-double, 1 assist shy. Lillard shooting lights out from the 3-pointer, but yeah, it's hard when you do all of that, but you still lose. I think that's just the frustrating point in this game and the next game as well. But I think the worst is just having that large lead right away and just watching it disappear and you lose.
Yeah, and kind of looking at the box score, I mean, and this part hurts me to no end as a Bucks fan, the fact that Sam Merrill is snapping.
Yep, I texted my brother that. I'm like, I love getting destroyed by guys we got rid of for no reason.
And again, he could have been a solid shooter. And again, that is the frustrating part, and that's why Bucks fans are frustrated with John Horst. Is like he could be contributing for us right now if you guys cared or gave any sort of a shit about developing him. Like that. Like he was a bench player in his rookie year, which is understandable because we had a veteran-led team. But it's like, stop getting rid of younger guys for older guys. That's the thing I have an issue with. Is the development for this team hasn't been there. Like, you're drafting good players. It's just you're getting rid of them before they have a chance to make a little bit of a mark or, shine a little bit or, at least get in the rotation. I mean, Merrill had no chance to get in the rotation. Okay, rookie year, okay, you can understand it. But, he can play. Like, these guys can play. Give them reps. I mean, and that's the problem I have with Milwaukee, and I think that this is why you're seeing them slip, is because they're over reliant on veteran guys. Okay, and it's really occurring this year. Up until like the past game or two ago, where they've started to actually play Andre Jackson Jr. But it's like they're over reliant on guys like Taurean Prince and Gary Trent and Pat Connaughton. And, Bobby Portis I can understand because he's still very much a productive player. But, give the younger guys a chance, okay? For God's sakes, I'm hearing people talk about, Ryan Rollins should be playing more.
Yeah, I was going to mention that later.
Give the younger guys a chance because, trust me, our bench is not that good. I don't know what Doc Rivers is watching. The bench is not that good, okay? If they could give if Milwaukee could get rid of Pat Connaughton right now for a bag of chips and a Subway sandwich, they probably would. But they don't because they chose Grayson Allen. And honestly, based on what I've heard in the trade market, nobody wants any of the players we have right now. Right. Nobody. It's like when it's like an Arby's sandwich. It's just nobody wants it. It's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like the moves that John Horst has tried to make around the edges haven't worked. So it's like, play the young guys because trust me, and the next year or two, you're gonna need them. You're gonna need them. With Middleton's body breaking down and with Lillard and Giannis, how much you gonna expect out of Taurean Prince? How much you gonna expect out of Gary Trent Jr.? How much you gonna expect out of Pat Connaughton? You need the younger guys. Okay, and Andre Jackson Jr. right now, out of everybody on that bench, brings the biggest upside.
Correct. Yeah, the decision to play him, I think, was one of Doc Rivers' best things, and it's such an easy choice to make, and it took that long to figure it out. But you watch the games against the Cavs, with Andre Jackson Jr. He's not the best shooter. Fine, he had a play where. He definitely should have. He had a Ben Simmons moment where he had that layup and then he passed it out, and some of the guys were like, "Hey, shoot it," which is understandable again. But he's a team player first. He wants to give the other guys the opportunities to shoot. But in the second game, he had a block. He had an incredible block, called a foul, overturned by the replay. 7 rebounds. I think it's later on in the games we'll talk about more of his stats, but he's just, the energy that he brings immediately when the game starts is more energy than all of our starters have had combined outside of Giannis and Lillard. So more than Brooke, more than Gary Trent, more than Taurean Prince. And it's like, it took this long and this much of failure to let's just try it out, as if he wasn't going to do that game 1 of the season. He's very Thanasis-esque, where it's just you want to be that deciding factor. And again, comparing Thanasis to Andre Jackson Jr. is crazy work, but they have the same mentality of that team player, and they want to make sure everyone's successful out on the court before they are, I feel like. And it's just reassuring knowing that he's still able to bring that energy. Same with AJ Green as well. And Ryan Rollins too in the minutes that he's getting. But no, it's nice to see that Doc Rivers snapped out of it and decided to give him reasonable minutes as well, not just 10 minutes here or there.
Well, he's desperate too, because I don't think Doc Rivers thought before heading into the season, shit, I only have 2 wins.
Yeah.
Let's think about this. Milwaukee could very well be 2-8 after today because playing playing against the Celtics, like that, and I believe it is in Milwaukee, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
it's in Milwaukee at 2:30. And again, the other part that worries me, it's a Sunday game. Milwaukee generally doesn't play well in Sunday games. As a matter of fact, that's probably the worst day that it's probably the worst day on the calendar that they play because it's rare when I see Milwaukee win on a Sunday. And again, playing against the Celtics, you hope that Boston doesn't have its best game. But again, it's, hopefully this could be the start of something for the Bucks. But again, they could very well be 2-8 as well.
Yep.
So, moving on to the next game. This game frustrated the hell out of me because I rewatched it and I was just like, how the hell did Milwaukee lose this game with AJ Green was snapping? Like that dude was ripping threes.
He was hot as a pistol. Yeah, 7 for 9.
But I think the story of that game was turnovers. Well, way too many. Just way too many Carlos passes. They just did not stop turning the ball over. It was just, and again, it's frustrating as hell to watch that, just because of the fact that, I get it. Turnovers do happen in the game, but it's like it just feels like the carelessness of like not being able to hold on to the basketball. I'm going to see if I could pull up the stats for how many turnovers they did have because
they had 14 and Lillard had 8 of them. And
15 turnovers.
Yeah.
Not good.
Where it led to the go-ahead bucket.
Not good. And let's see, 16 fast break points to Milwaukee, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and again, it was one of those things where Milwaukee very well could have lost that game because Cleveland did at one point have a 19-point lead, and they were able to kind of come back and take
Without
a 6-point lead. But still, couldn't. Unfortunately, just couldn't pull it out. Lillard, a wasted Lillard performance, 36.
Mm-hmm.
And they did all this without Giannis, who was out with an adductor strain. So, AJ Green, 21 points off the bench, 7 threes. So, to waste that performance, I think that is absolutely inexcusable.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating about this one the most is literally the turnovers. They, again, had this game in the bag with minutes left in the game, and then it was turnover, fast break, layup, or three-pointer. Turnover, Damian Lillard, fast break points. It's like they lost literally, I don't know. Like you see Lillard shoot 50%, 5 and 9 from threes, 100% from the free throw line, but 8 turnovers. It's like it completely erases your game because, again, 2 of those turnovers were very crucial at the end of the game and resulted in points that lost it for them. And then, I don't know, I wasn't watching this game. I had to work. But there was, right at the end of the game, one of AJ Green's 3-pointers was like a half quarter, which brings them to a 2-point loss. And it's like, that could have, obviously you're stretching on this, but it's like, that could almost won the game if you play your cards correctly. But no, it was a frustrating loss. Once again, because the Cavaliers still haven't lost and the Bucks have had 2 wins that they have given up to them. And that is 2 wins again than the Bucks don't have. And now we're stuck with 2 still. But yeah, I think the frustrating part is just watching a 21-point game from AJ Green, a 36. I have words to say about Bobby, but I'll say that in the next 2 games, just because he had to kind of make up for Giannis not playing. But still, just again, another shitty loss when they had that comeback win without Giannis against the undefeated team in the bag and then lost it.
No, and kind of watching that game, they were taking what I like to call asshole shots, where it was just like, Damian Lillard, ISO, like one-on-one, dribbling between the legs, step back, fall away, miss. AJ Green, one of his shots was like kind of a heat check shot, like just way too deep, not a shot they needed, and it was just a couple of shots where I was like, there has to be a better shot there. There had to have been a better shot than what we just did because I think Lillard's one of the best. I'll even throw him all time in there, one of the best all time isolation players in there. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where time and score. Like I just don't know if they needed like a in between the legs, fall away, like
step back.
step back. Like I just didn't think that was a good shot to get at the end of the game there. And the other part that didn't help was, despite the fact that they held Donovan Mitchell to 14 points, Darius Garland still had 39. So, I just think the defense should have been better there. But I'm not surprised because without Giannis in there, like, Lillard's not a good defender. Brooks kind of slipped a little bit, and Bobby Portis isn't a good defender. So it's like, who exactly would you have guarding him? So, I mean, that performance didn't surprise me that much. It was just frustrating to lose that because they had the lead late and they just gave it up.
Yep, that was a frustrating one. But again, it's the only reassuring thing about those losses that they're able to compete with the Cavaliers. Because again, who knows what's going to happen later on in the season? Are they actually championship caliber team? Who knows? But again, it's a loss, but that they are still able to compete until like the literal last second for both of those games.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Bucks played against the Utah Jazz. This was actually one of the games that they did win. They actually beat the Jazz. I'm not gonna be too excited about it because Utah is just not a good team. So I mean, 123 to 100. Let's see what the notable performances were here. But, I was glad that they were able to get a feather in their cap. I mean, Jazz are, win or two on the year, so not really notable performance. Like, Colin Sexton only had 14. Obviously had a lot of trouble scoring the basketball. Giannis had 31, Lillard had 34, and Bobby Portis had 19. So, I mean, again, I was glad that they were able to knock off a really bad Utah Jazz team, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm not going to be too excited about, oh my God, they beat the Jazz, because it's like the Jazz are probably going to be in the running for Cooper Flag for next year. So, I mean, I just don't get excited about beating bad teams.
Yep, and we can again rope ourselves into the bad teams and just knowing that our 2 wins are against the bottom team in the East and the bottom team in the West. So it's it's not very exciting. But it's again, a win's a win. What are you like? People are like, oh well, it's against the Jazz. Well, do you want them to lose? I don't know. They did what they were supposed to do. Everyone almost had a plus minus, except 2 guys. But yeah, no, kind of seeing Lauri Markkanen make his comeback game. I'm like, well, this is incoming 30-point legend game for Lauri Markkanen, but thankfully that did not happen. Yeah, no, big game from Giannis as per usual, having an MVP year that's not going to be talked about just because of their record. Same with Damian Lillard. But again, just looking at the bench, Pat Connaughton is so useless. I can't even wrap my head around that he got 17 minutes. I don't know. Pat Connaughton could have left 2 years ago, and he is still getting reasonable minutes. Yeah, no, just overall, I don't really have a lot to say on this one. Just an overall good game. Again, one that they needed. They did go down like 7 to 10 points, I think, in this game. So that was a little, I did get a little worried. I'm not going to lie, but just a insane third quarter, which is weird just because the Bucks are usually outrageous in the third quarter. So that second half really helped them. But yeah, moving forward, I thought this was like the start of hopefully a win streak, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's good to see other guys get minutes. Although I was surprised. I think you will start to see AJ Green cut into Gary Trent's minutes because let me tell you, Gary Trent only got 8 minutes in this game and he scored 2 points. AJ Green got 18, 12 points. So I mean, you could see like AJ Green be like, you could start to see the Bucks probably be like, you know what, AJ Green, he's cooking a little bit. He's cooking.
Yeah, and I hope that he gets like the consistent minutes because I know we talked about it a little bit last year. But his defense is like extremely underrated. Marcus Johnson, and they talk about it a lot. Lisa Byington, he guarded, I believe it was Donovan Mitchell in one of the Cavs games, and he is forcing up either bad shots or forcing them to pass. I don't know. It's like him being able to shoot consistently and being, I wouldn't say like an elite defender, but one who is able to kind of carry the load for other guys, I feel like is very reassuring. And it's kind of like, it's exciting to know that there is a guy with a high potential going from a player that you would not have expected to be the, I guess, the guy to step up. Very like Blake Perkins, I feel like with the Brewers, it's the unexpected guys that you kind of are excited to see have these kinds of games on a consistent basis. But yeah, it was cool to see AJ Green, step up after not getting a lot of minutes last year, come in and have two amazing games shooting. And again, only taking 6 to 8 shots and, hitting the ones that he needs to, and then being able to defend on the other side of the court. And yeah, after watching Gary Trent shoot 30% from the field this year, averaging 7 points, it's kind of nice to know because I was so excited to get Gary Trent. And now he's doing that. But yeah, well, fingers crossed AJ Green kind of takes those minutes and becomes more of that 7th or 8th guy off the bench.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if it would still be a situation where all of his playing time would be matchup based. So like today, would AJ Green still get a lot of minutes today, even if the players he's going against aren't like even if the players he's going against, don't are like a really good bench players for Boston. I mean, that'd be my only thing is, he could go off against Cleveland and, he can go off against Utah, but against Boston with bigger wings, like would Doc Rivers kind of say like, I don't,
Yeah,
I don't know if we should, I don't know if we should go, I don't know if we should play him today or if they would save him for a matchup a little more favorable. So that's my only thing.
yeah. The only guy I can really think of is Peyton Pritchard, who again shoots lights out against us. So
Oh yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
35, like 30, what, 2 the first meeting?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was insane.
3-pointers.
All right, moving on to the next game. Played the Knicks on Friday night at the Garden. Unfortunately, they got killed. They did. It was insane. Karl Anthony Towns had a big game. Josh Hart had a big game. I mean, look, the Knicks are going to be a good team this year, and that was kind of the whole thing when they acquired Karl Anthony Towns. Was you got to watch out for the Knicks because they could the Knicks could very well at least make it to an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They beat the Bucks 116-94. Decent game from Giannis, 24, lower 19. But the Knicks, with Cat, he had 32, Brunson 15, Bridges 17. So even Miles McBride had 14 coming off the bench. So I mean, just kind of balanced performances from a few of the guys on the Knicks. So I guess what did you see in Milwaukee's game against New York?
The Knicks, I have nothing bad to say about the Knicks. I really like the Knicks. I like a lot of their guys. So I don't have anything against them, which is always nice. It's just they're good. And from going from being very mediocre since Carmelo Anthony, it's kind of nice to see these guys thrive. The big thing I would have to say is I keep forgetting about Karl Anthony Towns being on the Knicks. I knew he's on the Knicks, and then I see him oh yeah, that's right. He's gonna cook Brook Lopez, and he's a center who can shoot 3-pointers very well. Obviously, a 3-point champion 2 years ago. But no, he is one of those guys where if he can get past you, it is no shot in stopping him. I felt like there were just way too many dunks being given up against the Bucks. They had 4 or 5 within the first, I don't know, half the first quarter. A lot of three-pointers shot and made. Second half kind of slowed down for them with three-pointers. But no, I just felt like it was points in the paint was just non-existent for the Bucks, and the other way around for them, where it basically was almost every possession they were getting into the paint easily. I think what frustrated me the most was the drop defense that Brook Lopez plays, where he's right under the perimeter, and then the guys dribble up to him, they float it right over him, and then he contests, but his contest is the ball's already over him. It's so easy to get to the hoop, I feel like, on them, which is one of their killers, which again doesn't help with trying to stop Josh Hart, Brunson, Towns, and Anobi Bridges. All these guys who are just super quick, McBride. A lot of these guys who are just able to run right past Brook Lopez and some of our guys just is not going to be successful. So I kind of saw this game coming. It was like playing the Pacers last year. They got so many guys who are young and fast, and we do not. So it's an easy game once they can kind of get around them. And I think the hard part is seeing Tyler Kolek play and being successful, because, again, Marquette fan, and knowing that we could have had him. Again, it's one of those things where, do we need a backup point guard? I don't know, but he's a lefty shooter who can get to the hoop, and then we picked Tyler Smith the pick before. So I don't know. Can't obviously blame it on him, but him going to the Knicks, I feel like, is one of the better teams that he could have gone to. But yeah, did not expect anything from this game, I think, overall, with my yapping that I just did. But the one thing I did want to note was Bobby Portis. This was an atrocious game. 1 for 8, 5 rebounds in his 17 minutes. And looking at like different stats, Bobby Portis is the best team when he is not playing, and they are the worst team when he is playing. Their net rating with Bobby off the floor is a plus 12.2, better than Boston and Cleveland. And when he is playing, they are a negative 16.7, which is good for last place. And it's a 1.1 difference between the Jazz, who they destroyed. So it's Bobby Portis. He brings the energy, but like when he is out on the floor, sometimes it is like a literal deer in the headlights, where I don't think he realizes sometimes that he can pass the ball. It's a lot of, I have the ball now, let me dribble, and now I'm shooting it, and now I've turned it over. And I don't know, it's so hard to watch him play sometimes, just because he just looks so lost, and his defense is horrible, and it's a killer when they have this huge run with Giannis and Lillard, and then they get subbed out, and here comes Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis just to absolutely blow up the run that they've had. And I don't know, I've seen enough of Pat Connaughton, and Bobby Portis is one of those guys who I'm like very close to not wanting on the team anymore, but no one's going to want to trade for him, I feel like. And yeah, no, it's just frustrating to see Bobby's play going from so well when he got here. You win the champ. Same with Pat, you win the championship, and then this happens. So who knows again, but I don't know. There's just, the bench just looks horrible, and there's nothing they can really do about it except play the young guys.
Yeah, it feels like and again, kind of watching that game, I think is a federal crime. Putting Brook Lopez
Yes.
on Cat, that's crazy. That was insane. I have no idea, like, what. I don't even know who our defensive coordinator is supposed to be, but it's like, what the fuck are you thinking? Brook Lopez does not have the foot speed to keep up with Karl-Anthony Towns. He doesn't. Okay? And there were several instances, and again, I just watched highlights, so again, I didn't get the full scope of the game, but Brook Lopez isn't very good at defending outside the paint. Karl-Anthony Towns could shoot threes. Nor can, when Cat drives, Brook Lopez can't keep up with him. So it was just either a three or a layup. Mm-hmm. And again, it's frustrating because you hold down Jalen Brunson to 15 points, but then it's like, well, but Karl-Anthony Towns has to get his. It's like, Like, let other people beat you. Like, that's my problem. Is like Brooke Lopez cannot guard Carl Anthony Towns one-on-one unless it's in the post. Anything outside of that, it's like Carl Anthony Towns could easily take advantage. But going back to your Bobby Portis point, I feel like the vitriol for Bobby Portis this year has gotten a lot louder than it used to be. Because when people first broached that topic, it was, you can't trade. You can't trade the mayor of Milwaukee. You can't trade Bobby Portis. He's the heartbeat of this team. Now all of a sudden, once you start losing some games, now all of a sudden everybody's just like, oh, fuck this guy. Like we got to trade him. Like we got to trade him. There's no way we can keep Bobby Portis. Like he's hurting us. He's costing us games. He's shooting too much. He took 21 shots against the Cavs on Monday. Like that in and of itself is kind of a crazy amount for a guy who I know he started, but it's like 21 shots for Bobby Portis is crazy. And all his shots are the same. It's either a turnaround jumper or it's a face-up shot. So it's like, the vitriol for like wanting to trade people has gotten a lot louder. And it really doesn't matter. And again, it's hard for the fans to get into games when you're losing all the games.
Correct. By a lot of points. They're not even close games besides the Cavs. And which is, again, crazy because they're 11-0.
Yeah, so it's just like how are Bucks fans supposed to feel when it's like, so we're losing all these games, but like nobody's chanting Bobby, Bobby, Bobby. Everybody's like, no, we got to trade his ass. Get his ass out of here. But look, Bobby, there were some good moments there, but I do think if the Bucks keep losing, he might be on the trade block. Pat Connaughton will probably be on the trade block. Those two will honestly probably be a package deal.
Mm-hmm. I see a 3-team deal somewhere in the future.
So, I mean, look, there wasn't much that went right against the Knicks. Lost by over 20, so again, you can hope they can improve starting today against Boston. Kind of moving on to other topics. There was a report from Brian Windhorst that says basically that John Horst has legitimately hit up everybody, all 32 teams, to be like, yo, so who do you guys want? And everybody else has just been like, yeah, nah, we good over here, fam. We good.
Because like everyone's doing well.
Yeah, nah. We don't want Pat Connaughton. We don't want Bobby Portis. We're straight over here. That's basically what every team has been telling him. Because trust me, John Horst has been trying, and everybody's been like, nah, we good. We good. That's so. And I'm not even surprised because, like, honestly, I wouldn't want those guys either. To be quite honest with you, I wouldn't want Pat Connaughton straight up. I wouldn't want Bobby Portis straight up.
No.
It's like, yo, is Giannis available? No, but we could give you, Torian Prince. No, we good. We good. I don't even think Torian Prince could be traded, but you see my point. Like, nobody wants the edge guys that Milwaukee signed this offseason. So that part of it was like, well, he's trying to improve. It's just nobody, they see Horst again, and then they're just hanging up the phone.
Yeah, and what's frustrating too is the East is so bad this year. Like the Knicks are in third place and they're 4-4. That would be like, I think it was 11th or 12th place in the West. Like the West is stacked this year, but yeah, it's just like, they literally could just be, they could have 4 wins. If you give the 2 Cavs wins to us, like that's fine with me. But yeah, no, it's just, it's crazy to see the Pistons being more successful, and the Hornets, and they're even like, they're still under 500 and they're still like have better records. But yeah, no, it's an interesting year. There's going to be a lot of change this year. And again, I hope it's for the better. Again, development wise, it's just, you give Ryan Rollins 12 minutes, he's got 7 points. You give AJ Green 25 minutes, he's got 9 points. Pat Connaughton's given 16 minutes, he has 2 points and he has 2 assists. He's running around out there. Tyler Smith 4 for 5, 10 points. Again, obviously he's not playing against Karl Anthony Towns, but you're still playing against NBA competition, and I don't know. It's weird. Again, unexpected for this season.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sitting here being like, play Tyler Smith, but it's like, At least give him 5 to 9 minutes or something.
Mhm.
I mean, God forbid. I mean, again, you might as well throw everybody out there, to be quite honest with you. And I get people will be like, well, they should play Ryan Rollins more. Well, Ryan Rollins is playing when they're down by a crap ton, and he's playing well. Okay, just because he can do that, that doesn't mean like he's
You put him in the first quarter.
no. And I get it. But again, at this point in time, it's like they're 2-7, and they probably like they honestly could probably stick him in for a few minutes. It wouldn't be a huge freaking deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I don't know. I would at least play Andre Jackson Jr. Now, if you don't want to play Ryan Rollins, I'm fine with that. But at least if Andre Jackson Jr. is showing you something, at least play him.
Yeah.
So, kind of moving on, kind of relating to the trade thing. If hypothetically, if Milwaukee were to make a trade, like who exactly would you trade for?
Give me Walker Kessler. I feel like the Jazz are going to blow it up. They had a very promising start last year, and then they were like the second worst team in the Western Conference or in the NBA just overall. Again, against us, 25 minutes, 3 for 3, 8 rebounds. I mean, hey, I'll take that. He is, I think, 22 years old, 23 years old. So, again, a young center, 7 foot. Why not? Do you think the Lakers, the Jazz will take Brook Lopez? I highly doubt it. But if you're going to trade for a center, or if you're going to trade Brook Lopez, you need to get a center in return, because otherwise we have no centers. Giannis is not a center. Bobby is not a center. So you're not going to – we're already lacking in that position. So, yeah, giving it up will just kind of make it worse. But, he's averaging 9 points, 68% this year. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. He had a bounce, or I guess like a come out year last year, just after that Rudy Gobert trade, as the rookie last year. But yeah, I mean, he's averaging a double-double, or almost a double-double, so I wouldn't hate it. Otherwise, other guys, I just feel like, I don't know, I'm not like up to date with my role players and like who's been playing and who isn't, but I just want a better center, and I want a younger center, and I feel like Walker Kessler is the target. And I know I saw other reports of D'Angelo Russell. I love D'Angelo Russell. He was one of my favorite players in the 2010s era, but I don't know if if you're going to trade Brook Lopez to the Lakers and you get D'Angelo Russell in return, I just don't think that that's going to even out.
Yeah, and again, I've seen people on ESPN talk about this where it's like, I just don't think there's a trade out there from Milwaukee that could move the needle. I do agree with you. They would probably need a center. So whether it's Walker Kessler, as you mentioned, or Jonas Valanciunas.
Yep, yeah, he was the other one.
If they could get one of those two guys, but again, Jonas Valanciunas would kind of be the same player as like Brook Lopez, just like a lumbering big that can't guard outside the paint. So Walker Kessler might be a better option, but again, like I said, like who is Milwaukee going to give up of note that could move the needle? Like I just don't like they don't have many draft picks available.
Nope, because they trade him for Jay Crowder.
So they don't have that. You're not going to give up Giannis quite yet, at least. So I mean, like I said, I just don't think I don't know if there's a move that's like, oh my god, this is a game-changing move.
Correct.
Like I just don't think a move like that exists right now. But I do think that either Portis or Connaughton would be one of the first players traded. Especially Portis. I think like I don't know if it would happen now, but like obviously Milwaukee's in this position as you move closer to the trade deadline. It's like Bobby Portis could very well be traded, but probably the first person traded. But let's see if they can see if they can probably get somebody of note. So that's really all I have on that.
Yeah, there's no one really, and again, we're so early in the season still, where this is game 10 right here. we're still so early in the season where it's like no one's really at the point of making trades. Again, I feel like that'll still be in another month or so, but yeah, it's really just going to have to depend on how the Bucks do come the new year. Are they able to turn it around? Again, they have a somewhat easier schedule coming up, but again, that means nothing, I guess, at this point for the Bucks. But yeah, again, there's no one really out there who is that deciding factor of that's the guy we need to win the championship, because we have guys who can win a championship, but they're just showing us that they are not willing to, I guess, have energy, play well. A lot of these guys outside of Giannis and Damian Lillard. But yeah, I will have to judge it more in the next month or so. Going into the new year, kind of getting closer to the trade deadline later into the season. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, definitely Bobby will be the first one. I can see if they're going to trade people, the 4 names would be Bobby, Brooke, Pat, and Marjan. Will they trade all of them? Highly doubt it. But I think it'd be one of those 4 if they are going to make a trade.
Agreed. So, Evan, you got anything else?
Got nothing. They play the Celtics in 2 hours, and then we just had their schedule up. Yeah, and then they have Toronto on Tuesday, and then a back-to-back Toronto-Detroit game Tuesday, Wednesday. So let's hope they can kind of get 2 wins right there. Obviously, you have a back-to-back, but Toronto and Detroit being a closer commute obviously won't affect them as much, hopefully. And I think Boston is coming off of a back-to-back as well after playing. I feel like it was a back-to-back. I could be wrong, but I know they've played a few games as of recently. But yeah, we'll see. I don't really expect much. But no, they're not a back-to-back. They played on the 8th, so 1 game in between. But we'll see. I expect, obviously, to be blown out, but it would be fun if they could get a win against Boston at home on a Sunday. After a Sunday afternoon game, not just a Sunday game, an afternoon game too.
And as I'm looking at the schedule here, this is the start of the in-season tournament. Apologies if you brought that up. So yeah, huge deal this year, and now all of a sudden it's just kind of going to be a part of the NBA schedule. So hopefully they can, make it far, I guess, in the tournament. I don't know.
After being bounced out by the Pacers last year.
I mean, it'll be a weird wrinkle to the schedule, but, let's see what happens. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.